Or if I do this question at around 6:15, I'll be discussing. Once you're done, you can raise your hands in the participants list. Quick. Okay, we'll have a minute more. I have fella done. Others, do you all want more time or Bharat, actually all functions are formulas. Use that idea and try to inject question. Only six of you are done. Others, do you all want a bit more time or shall I discuss? What you want some more time? Is it to me? Okay. I'll give you all then 3 more minutes. Okay. At around is 3 minutes enough or you want 5 minutes? 3 or 5? I give you too much time for this, huh? Okay, at 6:20, I'm going to discuss. Quick. Quickly attempt these questions. It's all regarding spreadsheets. Very easy question. With the questions, if you have answered the questions, raise your hands in the participant list. so that I know you're. I can get a count of those who are done basically. Others quickly do it. If you're done with the question, you can raise your hands so that I know you're done. Did no, so hurry up. Okay, time up. So let's start the discussion. Okay, so those are writing, you can stop writing and focus here. And then you can mark your answers. If you have a red pen, better use a red pen and mark. If you don't have a red pen, use a pencil or something and mark your answers. Following spreadsheet shows you the money exchange details of Likey Bank, of Likey Bank branch on 2018 July 17th. There are 125 customers who exchanged their USDs into SLR that day. Okay, so USD are basically standing for United States dollars, right? And SLR means Sri Lankan rupees. It's basically someone wants to convert their money from dollars to rupees, it seems. Look at the sheet carefully and answer the questions below. Okay, so they're given you a sheet here which has certain numberings and then certain customers' details, customers' names, and the amount they have. And there's called amount in LK and percentage total. There's multiple columns. Okay, just got a rough idea. And the bottom in cell number 129. So the row number 129, they have mentioned the exchange rate 106 rupees. those were the days where everything was, life was peaceful maybe in terms of cost. Okay, but yeah, so now I think dollar is going around 350, it's double basically, right? So yeah. Anyways, let's answer these questions based on that. Write the formula to find Mr. Brennan's Lankan rupee amount in D3 cell using the exchange rate mentioned on C129 cell. Your formula should have the capability to copy the range D4 to D125 to obtain the amount in LKR for other customers as well. Okay. So they are saying, if you look at this spreadsheet, they are saying in the, what do you call, in cell D3. Okay. So in cell D3 meaning column D, row number 3. Okay. In cell D3, they have Mr. Brennan's, they want to calculate Mr. Brennan's balance in LKR. So if I take Mr. Brennan, okay, this is the Mr. Brennan's record. We want to find his amount he has. Okay, the $350 amount. We want to figure out how much it is in rupees. But the fun fact, the formula we write here, we should be able to copy it for the remaining range of sales as well. That is the requirement mentioned by them. Okay, fine. Let's go through and let's figure out it. First, if they're saying in the question, if they're saying the exchange rate of USD is 160.27, okay, what they're meaning by this is basically 1 USD, okay, 1 United States dollar is there, that is equal to 160.27 rupees, right? 160.27 rupees, right? So based on that, tell me, if I know how many dollars Mr. Brennan has, I know Mr. Dollar has $350. And if I want to convert this dollar amount to rupees, what should I do? Should I multiply or should I divide or should I add or should I subtract? Exactly what should I do? Exactly. If I'm saying, okay, $1 is 160 rupees. Now my question is, how much is $350? So what you might do? You might multiply that value by the dollar rate. Fine. So basically, to find the amount Mr. Brennan has, what I should do is I should write a formula something like this, right? I'd write a formula where, so let me write the formula here, okay? I'd write a formula mentioning the amount of value he has in dollars, that is there in the cell C3, okay? So cell C3 into the exchange rate. So exchange rate is there in cell C129, okay? Now, if I multiply C3 cell with the value of C129 cell, tell me, first of all, tell me, will I be able to get the value in LKR? That means the amount of money Mr. Brennan has. Will I be able to get that value in LKR? Yes or no? Exactly. If I multiply, I will be able to get the money. But there is an issue here. Let me ask you one thing. Normally, if you're going to copy in spreadsheet, there's a special feature that is where if you're going to copy a formula from one cell, okay, if you're going to copy a formula from one cell to another cell, certain things changes, okay, most of the column name and the row name changes depending on what you're copying, okay. So basically, if you're going to jump rows, that means from, let's say you're going to go from D3 row, okay, at the moment I wrote the formula in D3 row. So from D3 row, if I copy the formula to the E3 row, okay, if I copy the formula to E3 row, now am I jumping from D3 cell, sorry, from the D3 cell, if I copy the formula to E3 cell, am I jumping rows or am I jumping columns? When I'm going from D3 cell to E3 cell, am I jumping rows or am I jumping columns? Or both? Answer the question asked. I am just jumping columns only. Okay. I am just jumping columns. From D column, I am going to E columns. Okay. Now, when I am going from columns, okay, how many columns am I jumping? Is it one column or two columns or how many columns? Exactly. From the D column, I'm going to the E column. It's just one column. Okay. So basically, I'm just going one column towards the right. Now, when you're copying the formula, let's say from D3 to E3, you're going one column right, right? The same change. Now, this is I'm going to call this as a change. Okay. The same change is going to apply to all the cell address mentioned in your formula. So, for example, if let's say this was a formula we had, this C3, this is there, right? Let's say this was a formula we had in the D3 cell. So, when I copy it to E3 cell, the same change will apply. So, the C3, now it will again move one column towards the right. So, C3 moves one column towards the right. That will become D3. And then C129 when it moves one column towards 9, it will become D129. Okay. So when I copy this from here to here, normally you will notice that the column name changed. Similarly, even when I jump rows, now for example, from D3 to D4, let's say I'm going to copy a formula from D3 cell to D4 cell. Now, am I jumping columns or am I jumping rows? Exactly, I'm jumping rows. I'm going how many rows downwards? Now, from D3 to D4, I'm jumping how many rows downwards? Exactly, I'm jumping one row downwards. Again, I'm going to call this as a change. Okay. So basically, if I copy a formula from D3 cell and go and paste D4 cell, the same change will apply as well. So C3 will become, again, you go one row down. So that will become C4. And C129 will become C130. It will go again one row down. Okay. Now, if I do like that, now, for example, let's say I copy the formula from the cell and I go and paste it to the bottom cell. Okay. So when I copy the formula and paste it for, let's say, to find Richardson's amount in LKR, okay, it will show in Richardson's cell. In this cell, it will show the formula as C4 into 130. Okay. Now, as per the formula we wrote earlier, the first one had the amount in dollars, and second one had the exchange rate. That's how we wrote the formula. Now, based on that, when I copy the formula from D3 to D4, right? Are we getting the correct, what do you call, dollar amount? The amount in dollar, is that correct? Yes, the amount in dollar is exactly giving. So C4 is going to give me correctly Mr. Richardson's dollar rate, the amount of dollars he has. So that's correct. Okay, so C4 is correct. But is C130 correct? No, in C130, do we have the exchange rate? No. So now in this case, what happened here was, okay, in this case, what happened here was, when I'm jumping from one row down, see, when I'm copying a formula from D3 to D4, I'm copying one row down. No? So whenever I go copy one row down, the change which I'm doing, okay, you can see from D3 to D4, the change is what? Going one row down. The same change had applied for all the cell address. So C3 became C4, and what do you call C129 became C130. Okay, but the thing was C4 is correct. There is no issues there. But there's the issue in C130. Instead of being C130, we want it to be C129. Okay. Now in this case, tell me, do we want to keep the row fixed or do we want to keep the column fixed? I mean, what is getting changed? Now there's something when we are copying. Now the question says we're going to copy this formula from D4 to D125. So when you're going to copy this formula we wrote to the cells D4 to D125, we saw something being changed, okay, and we don't want it to change. Exactly what do we want to change, the row or the column? In our scenario, what is our requirement? Exactly, our requirement is make sure that the row is constant or this row number is constant, because what happened when we copy this formula equals C3 into C129, when we copy that formula for the below cell, it became equal C4 into C130. Okay, now this C is correct, this 4 is correct, this multiplication is correct, this C is also correct, but the problem is it's taking the row number 130, but instead we want the row number 129. Okay, so this is where we have something called as absolute cell difference. Now the default cell difference we have is something called as relative cell difference. These are normal cell difference which we do, right? In such scenarios, when you want to keep something relative cell difference, okay, in scenarios where you want to keep something in constant or you want to keep something on fixed, then what you should do is you use something called as absolute cell difference. Okay, in absolute cell difference, what happens is you use a dollar icon or you use a dollar symbol in front of what you want to keep fixed. Now in C129, do I want to keep C fixed or do I want to keep 129 fixed? Actually, what is changing? Exactly, I want to keep that 129 fixed. So what I can do is I can write instead of writing C129, I can write the cell address there C $129. Now, by what is the meaning of this is basically when a change is happening. Okay, see, this is a change I said. When this change is happening, okay, what will happen is if I put dollar in front of the row number, it will not the change. If there is a change in rows, that change will not affect. If I put the dollar symbol in front of the column name, then if there is a change in column, that will not be affected. So the minimum requirement for this question is the row number changes. No, So we are going to keep the row number fixed. So to keep the row number fixed, I'm going to mention instead of C 129, I have to mention there C $129. Okay, that is a minimum requirement. Okay, but if you want, you can mention the minimum requirement is equal C3 into C $120 because as per our scenario, that is what our requirement is. The rows are being changing and we want to keep the rows constant. But if you want, instead of mentioning this, if you want, you can keep the column name as well fixed. For example, you can write something like this as well. $C $129. This is also correct, but that is not a requirement. Keeping the column fixed is not a requirement. The reason is because the column doesn't change. The column name doesn't change as per our scenario. Why? In our scenario, we are copying from where? From D3 to D4 to D125. So are we jumping columns? No. So because we are not jumping columns, obviously there won't be a change in column, right? So the minimum requirement is this, okay? But if you write this is also correct. Both are correct. Is that clear of you? Is it wrong if we write as row and column? Is it the same thing in the question? You want to answer this question? Anyone having any other questions for that? $C3. Can you put a dollar before C because it should not change? No. That's what I no C3. Okay, $C. Actually, see that is all like not the minimum requirement. It is not required. If you want, you can. For example, another answer you can do is even you can put $C as well to make sure the column number doesn't change. So the column letter doesn't change. Okay. So even this is also correct, but these are all not requirement. If you don't put this, it doesn't make the question wrong. If it doesn't make the formula wrong. Okay. If you don't put this dollar symbol, it doesn't make the answer wrong. That's why I said this is the minimum requirement. Here, if you don't put the dollar, it will make the whole answer wrong. It'll make the whole scenario wrong. Got it? Okay. So the answer for that question is going to be equals C3 into C $129. The reason I put the dollar symbol in front of the row number is because, again, to make sure that the row number doesn't change when I'm copying and pasting the formula from one cell to another cell, right? Okay. So if you got that correct, put 2 marks. Why have they asked as D4 to D125? Because that contains the remaining people's conversions. So in D4 we have Richardson's amount in rupees. In D5 we have Fedricks. In D6 we have Mr. Janice. So basically what their meaning is they want to find remaining people's as well. Yes, these answers are also correct. If you all mention these two as well, you can put 2 marks. But I would say the most preferred answer is a minimum answer is this. So either one of this is the most preferred answer, but yeah. But it's until 127 now. Maybe that's their wish. That's the scenario. They should have mentioned that 160 is $1. That is basically common sense. You can't ask them to make sure they give everything for you. What do you mean by exchange rate of USD means they're basically telling you what is the exchange rate of USD. Of USD is mentioned here. It's basic common sense. Or do you really think that 1 rupee is equal to $160? Just practically even think, is our Sri Lankan rupee so valuable? Okay, but apart from that, they have mentioned the exchange rate of USD is equal to. If I tell you an exchange rate of a human is equal to 100,000 rupees, what I indirectly mean that is you can exchange the human for 100,000 rupees. You give me a human, I'll give you 100,000. That's what you mean. Same thing is when they say exchange of USD is 160.27. Okay, what they are basically meaning here is if you give 160.27, they'll give you $1. Or if you give $1, they'll give you 160.27 rupees. Okay, anyways, the next question. If you have any other questions, you can drop in the chat. We'll go for the next one. Name the special reference technique you used to create the formula in D3 cell. What is the special reference we used? Exactly. That's called something as absolute cell reference. Absolute cell reference. Okay. If you want to be more precise, you can tell now if you had written my answer, then you can tell the row absolute cell reference. Okay, so if you take absolute cell reference, there are three types of absolute cell reference. Okay, if you are going to take absolute cell reference, there are three types of absolute cell reference. Okay, the first type is where you keep, let's say, only the row constant. So we call this as the row absolute cell reference. That means row is fixed. Then we have something where we keep the column name fixed. For example, something like this. So we call this as column absolute cell reference. And next we have where we keep both fixed. That is, the column name is also going to be fixed, and the row number is also going to be fixed. We call this as column and row absolute cell reference. Okay. But anyways, if you just mention absolute cell reference also, it's enough. Or you can be more specific based on what you use. What does cell reference mean? Cell reference is where you're going to reference a cell, or you're going to mention a cell address inside a specific cell. Okay. For example, inside one cell, if you are going to mention anything about another cell, that's what you call a cell reference. Okay. Anything about another cell. For example, let's say I have here two cells. Anything related to this cell, if I have mentioned in this cell, that is what I call cell referencing. Okay. Basically mentioning one cell on another cell in simple terms. Can we mention absolute row and a column reference? Absolute row and column. Yeah, fine. But this is a better term. There's a $ effect cell reference. If you use $, that means you're using absolute cell reference. To show that absolute cell reference is used, the dollar symbol is used. The dollar symbol represents that absolute cell reference is done. Clear? Okay, so in my question, I mean, if you want, you can directly mention that as absolute cell reference, or based on what you did, what type of cell reference you did, you can be more specific as well. That's going to be the answer to Roman number 2. So if you had mentioned that, again, put 2 marks for that. Again, if there's any other questions, drop in the chat. Huh? If I sometimes when there's more chats going, I would have missed. I just scrolled and checked. But if I had missed your question, then again, you can drop it in the chat. Okay, the next one. Write the formula to find the Lankan rupees amount exchanged on 2018 July 12th in D128 cell. Okay, in D128, that is this cell. This is D128. In this D128 cell, they want to find the LKR percentage. Wait, so they want to find total Lankan rupees amount exchanged. Total Lankan rupees amount exchanged on 2018 July 12th. If you take this whole spreadsheet is about the transactions done on July 12th, because you can see the top of the spreadsheet is that they have mentioned money exchange details of airport branch, blah, 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 2018 July 12th. So basically, the whole spreadsheet contains a July 12th transactions. So if you want to find the total amount exchanged on 2018 July 12th, right? What we are going to do is we have write a formula, okay, that can add the values of, let's say, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Richardson, Mr. Frederick, Mr. Jenikila. Each of these persons amount they exchange, we have to add them all together. So what is the formula we can, or let's say, actually we have a function in spreadsheet for that. Okay, so in spreadsheet there's something called functions and formulas. Basically all functions are formulas. Okay, all functions are a type of formula only. So I'm going to use a function here actually to find the total amount, right? So tell me, what is a function? What is the function I can use in spreadsheet to find it? Can you explain formula and function? Formulas is basically you all know in maths how formulas work, right? So same thing, the same formula, an equation is what you do in a formula as well. Okay, so you can add values, multiply values, subtract values, you can do all of these stuffs using a formula. So it's basically to do certain mathematical operations or to do any operations, right? To do any operations on your data, you can use formulas, right? Now, certain times, so when you're going to write certain formulas, it might look very long. Now, for example, if I'm going to add the values of all of this amount using formula, it will be something like equals D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D6 plus D7 killer. I'll be saying, okay, at this cell value, at this cell value, at this cell value killer, the formula might be too long. So what happens is, in order to make our work more easier, instead of writing like that, we can actually, we have something called as functions, which is a type of formula, okay, but we can use inside formulas, right? So using this function, what happens is these functions already have a logical meaning behind it, already has a meaning. So most of this function, it will ask you to give a value, okay, that value we call as a parameter. So it will take a value from you and it will perform certain actions. Now, for example, in take spreadsheet, if you want to add multiple values together, the function we're going to use here is a function called a sum function. So I will write this inside the formula. So instead of, normally we start a formula with equal symbol. So I'll mention as equal sum. And in brackets, we don't have to mention each and every cell address. Instead, I can mention the cell range as well. So here the range of cells containing the amount in rupees are going to be the D3 cell to D127. So I'm going to mention equals D3 to D127. So now what happens here is, instead of writing each and every cell address, okay, instead of writing equals D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D5 killer, instead of writing each and every cell address, what I can simply do is I can just write the function name and I can pass in the cell address, or so the range of cells I want to add together. Okay, so functions are basically a simplified way of writing formulas. So they already, and also keep in mind, functions have a meaning. It's predefined. I mean, the functions you're using in spreadsheet, all the functions you're going to use in spreadsheet, it basically has a meaning already. So some function has a meaning of adding values that is mentioned in the given cell range. Got it? Is it case sensitive? No, it is not case sensitive. Why didn't you include D128 cell? In the D128 cell, do we actually have an amount of do we have an amount that is being exchanged? No, so that's why I did not add it. Okay, it's not 125, it's going to be 120, sorry, 125, my bad, not 127, 125. Ah, no, it's 127, sorry. You all confused me. Even though it's number, wait. One of you asked why they have mentioned here 125, right? Actually, they have misunderstood this 125. This 125 is not the row number. It is a reference number. So 125 is Mr. Kodikaran's reference number. But if you see the row number, it's 127. Got it? That 125 is just a reference number. So basically, this is that's how I think the person who made the paper also would have got confused. Okay, so it's not 125, it's 127, because you can see here the row numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 is mentioned in the right side, left side corner. So it should be equal sum D3 to D127. Is that clear, all of you? So if you had mentioned exactly equal sum D3 to D127, put 2 marks. Others, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Equals sum D3 to D127. So if you had got that correct, again put 2 marks there. Right, the next one. Write the formula to find the percentage to total amount, the Lankan percentage to total amount you got in D128 cell. So D128 cell, you want to find the percentage to total amount, okay, of Mr. Brennan at E3 cell of, wait, write the formula to find the Lankan rupees percentage to total amount you got in D128 cell of Mr. Brennan at E3 cell. Ah, okay. So you want to find out of the total amount, how much was the amount as a percentage Mr. Brennan actually exchanged. That's what they're meaning there. So your formula should have the capability to copy the range. Okay, fine. So basically, now we know that Mr. Brennan got $350. Okay. Now out of $350, how much? Sorry, $350. We know that Mr. Brennan got 350 into 160.27. The value is there in the D3 cell. So in D3 cell, we know exactly the amount that Mr. Brennan actually exchanged. Okay. So we want to find E3 cell. Okay, in E3 cell, what we want to find is what is the percentage out of the total exchange per day, which means what is the amount, what is the percentage Mr. Brennan exchanged out of the total amount. So for example, let's say Mr. Brennan exchanged, I'm just taking a random example. Let's say he the amount in rupees he got was 1,000 rupees. Okay. And let's say on that day, there was a total of 100,000 rupees total exchange. Okay. Like if you add the amount exchanged by everyone, let's say it's 100,000. And let's say Mr. Brennan exchanged only 1,000 rupees. So you can find the percentage by multiplying this by 100. So for example, if I'm going to manual calculations, that's going to give me something like 1%. Okay. So out of if Mr. Brennan had, let's say, exchanged 1,000 rupees in Sri Lankan rupees, then I'll be like, okay, he has exchanged basically 1%, right? That's the base idea, what is being mentioned in the question. So before I start that explanation of how to do this, first of all, tell me, did you understand what is the formula we have to write inside this cell? E3. The amount Mr. Brennan had deposited, so Mr. Brennan has exchanged, the amount divided by the total amount that was deposited on that day, the percentage of that. Okay, perfect. Now, so basically, to find the amount Mr. Brennan exchanged in that day, tell me what is the cell address containing that? What is the cell address containing the amount Mr. Brennan actually exchanged on that day? What is the cell address containing the amount Mr. Brennan exchanged on that day in Lankan rupees? Exactly. The amount he had exchanged on that day in LKR is there in the cell D3. Okay. So cell D3 actually has amount he had exchanged in LKR. Now, what is the cell as per the questions? What is the cell containing the total amount exchanged on that day in Lankan rupees? What is the cell address of the cell containing the total amount? Exactly. That's D128. So I'm going to divide this by D128. And to find the percentage, to find out, here I'll be getting a fraction of how much he had deposited, he had exchanged. If I'm going to get this as a percentage, what should I do? Now, this is maths. Exactly. If I'm going to find the percentage, I have to multiply this by 100%. Okay, I'll multiply this by 100. If I multiply this by 100, I basically get this in percentage. Fine. Now, if I use a formula like this, for example, if I use a formula like equals D3 into D128, sorry, divide by D128, into 100. Okay. Now, if I use this formula, if I go and mention this formula inside the E3 cell, okay, that will be finding the amount Mr. Brennan actually exchanged. Okay. Next, actually, it's better if you use the brackets here, but it is not required because whether you use brackets or not, it is not going to change the value because of as per BODMAS. Anyways, what do you call? We use division first and multiplication second. So BODMAS, you know, actually spreadsheet does not go in BODMAS. Spreadsheet goes in something called as brackets of, it goes as BEMDAS. Okay. So B is brackets, it can be parentheses or any types. Okay. So B and P is same. P means parentheses, B means brackets. Both are basically the same thing. In spreadsheet, we don't go in the BODMAS order. Normally, the only difference is we do the multiplication before the division. So if you want, but in this percentage issues, it will not be a big issue. But yeah, if you really want, I mean, if you want, you can put the brackets here as well. Okay. Equals D3 divided by D3 to D127. No. There is no formula called, if you put, there is no meaning for D3 to D127. You can't mention cell range as a, to divide by a cell range. You can divide by a cell address. You can't divide by a cell range. It's impossible. So that's wrong. Okay. So wait, I'm not still done, man. Wait. Okay. So basically, this is can be put for the whole formula. I mean, then you have put another brackets here, like this. Two brackets. But to be more precise, you can put something like equals D3 divided by 120, D128 into 100%. In this scenario, putting the brackets is not important. So without the bracket is also correct. But anyways, I'll just keep it as it is. Okay. Now, this is a formula we are going to enter into the E3 cell, and this will give me the percentage of Mr. Brennan. Now, let's say I copy this formula from here to, let's say, here. No, Nabia, in certain scenarios, if you are going to do like normally that will be issue in a recurring number. Okay, certain issues where a recurring numbers kind of scenarios mainly, it will do multiplication first and then only division. It's not equal in a spreadsheet. So, but it's only in certain scenarios. But then the other scenarios, you will not even feel a difference. That's how it works. Anyways, just keep that thing aside. We look. So let's say I copy this formula from E3 cell and go and paste it to E4 cell. Okay. So when I copy from E3 cell and go and paste it onto E4 cell, now if you notice a change, okay, or if you notice a change, it's basically I'm going one row down. Okay, I'm just going one row down. If I apply this change to all the cell address, D3 will become D4 and D128 will become D129 and 100% will be as it is. Okay, it will change only cell address, it will not change other random values. Okay, so basically, if I take D4 cell, and I mean, if you take this scenario, if you take D4 cell, yes, correctly you're getting Mr. Richardson's amount in LCAP. So that is correct. This D4 part is correct, right? And divide by is also correct, multiply by 100 is also correct. But when they say divide by 129, okay, cell D129, tell me, does cell D129 have the total amount collected in rupees? As per this given scenario, won't we put the 100% percentage sign in the answer? No, percentage sign in the answer is wrong. That you have to do using text formatting, cell formatting, sorry. Exactly. Okay. So if you take D128, it doesn't have, so D129, that cell doesn't have the total amount. Then what is the cell that contains the total amount? What is the cell address contain the total amount collected on that day? Exactly. The previous question we did that, we found that we wrote that formula inside cell D128. Okay. So in this case, we want this D128 not to change. That means when you're going to find the percentage of each and every person, for everyone, it should be having the same percentage. Now you can notice when I copy it for one person, or when I'm going to copy to each and every person, this D128 will go again one row down, one row down, one row down. It gets changes. So in our case scenario, you might notice we want to keep this row number fixed. I want to keep this row number fixed. So to keep my row number fixed, that means to make sure that for every person, when I copy and paste for every person, it should be D128. Okay. So to do that, tell me, should I do here row absolute cell reference or column absolute cell reference or both? What is the minimum requirement? Exactly. I do row absolute cell reference. So instead of writing the formula like this, what I can do is I can write the formula as equals D3 divide by D $128. Unknown caller. Okay, divide by D 128 into 100. Okay, this is the minimum requirement. Like in this scenario, whether if you do only row absolute cell reference or if you do column and row, it is not making a difference. Okay, so because of that, in this scenario, you can actually, if you want, you can mention as well, which means you can mention $D $128 as well. It is not going to be a big issue. But again, this is the minimum requirement. So if I write this formula there inside this E3 cell, okay, if I go and write inside E3 cell equals D3, then it will take this value, divide by D128, it will take the total which we found in the previous question and multiply it by 100. Okay, again, no any percentage symbol, it should be exactly like this. Is that clear, all of you? In this question, this one is not important. Huh? The brackets is not important, but if you want, you can mention that as well. Anyone having any other questions here? Okay, fine. Is there any chance of deducting marks using column and row absolute cell reference here? No. it is correct. So if it's correct, it's not an issue. I'm just telling you the minimum requirement. Okay, the next question. End of the day, management of Laiki Bank requires to see the money exchange report in a graphical way. Give your suggestions regarding this requirement. Okay, how can you represent data in a graphical manner in spreadsheet applications using what? Then spreadsheet does the BODMAS order apply. Not BODMAS. In spreadsheet, the order we have is BEMDAS. This order. Exactly. In spreadsheet, do we have graphs? Not graphs. In spreadsheet, we have something called as charts. Okay. So we can use different types of charts. Okay. Actually, to represent your data in a graphical pattern, right? So you can say for this answer, you can write we can represent the data in a graphical manner using chart skill. You can write a whole sentence there, but just mentioning charts as fine. Okay. So they have not asked you exactly what chart. They have just asked you give your suggestions regarding. So you can mention charts, or you can be more precise as well. What do you call? We can show the variations of the percentage what do you call exchange by each employee using a, let's say, pie chart, see what you call a line chart or column chart. Like you can be a bit more precise as well, but you don't have to write so much in detail. If you just mention here the use of charts, okay, using charts, we are good to go. Is pie chart correct? They are not asking you to give an example of a type of chart. They are asking you give us suggestions of how you can represent graphically. Now, for example, I'm asking you, what do you call? Let's say I'm asking you a simple thing. Let me think of a simple thing which I can ask you. Okay, I'm asking you, give me a suggestion of how I can, what I can. No, let's say I'm saying at the moment what happens is I'm walking barefoot, and my let's say my legs are burning. Give me a suggestions to make sure that when I'm walking, my what do you call my leg doesn't burn. What to the basic suggestion might be, okay, you buy a slipper here. But instead of that, if you come and go and buy, what do you call, give me a very expensive brand of slipper. Let's see if you know something else. Something else. What should I say? Bart, I mean, what I say. Okay, let's be more simple. So let's say I'm going to say, okay, go and buy a wave killer. Okay. If I'm going to say go and buy a wave slipper killer, I'm going to say, okay. So technically speaking, I'm asking a solution for the problem. What you're doing is you're going and giving a product, a wave, okay? Or you're saying go and use Gucci killer. You're going to say go and use a wave killer. Or you're going to say go and use Beat killer. Or go and use Nike, or go and use Puma killer. Or go and tell it. So when I'm going to say like use pie chart, if you're going to use the chart's name, what happens is your answer is indirectly correct, but that is not what they are mainly asking you. They are asking you what a way to see your money exchange report in a graphical manner. So simply you can say by the use of charts. Example, and then you can mention example, pie chart, line chart, bar chart. You can mention the chart names. Okay, that's what a preferred answer would be. So if you're like hereafter you get these type of questions, there's in the like a question like this, if they ask you how to represent data in a graphical manner, then you mention you're asking us answers using charts or with the use of charts, using charts, and then you can mention as example what do you call bar chart, column chart, comma line chart. You can mention them as examples. Okay. Here, if you had mentioned only pie chart or if you had mentioned just charts for both, I'll give you 2 marks. But here was 2 marks, here's 2 marks. But what do you call? Next time you get questions, just mention, be always specific, using charts and then give the examples. Okay. We use brackets when there is a range and we don't use brackets if there is not. This is idea correct. There is a range, not like that, man. We use brackets and we don't use brackets in terms of how is this spreadsheet software going to react on our formula. Now, for example, if I wrote the formula without the brackets in this scenario, if I wrote this formula without brackets, as per the order spreadsheet follows, what it will do first? It will do the multiplication first and then the division. But let's say I want to do the division first. So if I want to do something different, then what will happen by default? If I want to do something different, then what will happen by default? That is where you use the brackets. Got it. For today, just give 2 marks. If you wrote line chart, pie chart, any other chart names, give 2 marks. But then just write this correction as well using charts and then put example as a chart names. Okay, but for today's scenario, just put 2 marks if you wrote them as well. But hereafter, don't make the mistake. Anyone have any other questions? Okay, now drop in a chat. Out of 10 marks, how much you all got? Out of 10, how much you all got? And others, if you have any questions still, you can drop them in the chat. Okay, so those who got less than 10, probably 8 marks or 6 marks or 4 marks or 2 marks, are you all clear with your mistakes? You'll understand the mistake you all made and how it should be done instead. Okay, perfect. I'll give you 5 minutes to pray, and then afterwards I'm going to discuss this database question. Okay, so what do you call? Well, you can pray and come and do this question. I'll give. So now the time is actually 7:02. So in total, I'll give you, let's say, 8 minutes plus. So 7:10 and 7:15 I'll be discussing this question. Okay. But if you have any other questions remaining, you can drop them in the chat. I'll answer them. For the third one, I put D125 instead of D127. Will I get 1 mark for the function? Put 1.5 mark. Do you put D127 or D$127? I mean D$125 or D$125. What do you write? Dollar. Then put 1.5 marks and just like you cut the marks there in that question. Just cut that in red pen. Cut the D125 and mention there is D$127 and cut half marks. But always you will not get such markings in your exams. So be careful. Others, you can pray and come and do this question. And at 7:15 p.m., I'll be discussing this. So once you're done doing this question, you can raise your hands in the participants list. It depends on the question. This question, even the question made it wrong. So because it was a mistake in the previous example, they had messed up and gave you as 1 to 5. So because the question had been some stupid things, I gave even half marks. Nathang, I will not give half marks. Others quickly do this question. I mean, you can pray and come and do this question. And if you're done, you can raise your hands, the participant list. I'll also go and pray and come. And then if you have other questions as well, you can just drop them in the chat. So all of you will attempt this question. Once you're done, you can raise your hands in the participant list. At 7:15 p.m., I will be discussing it. Sir, actually, it works like this. So you'll have to maintain writing book, and every day I'll be screen sharing a question, and probably I'll be giving you 10 minutes to do that question, and then I start discussing that questions. That's the pattern, and sometimes I'll be going in order. For example, this time what I did was. In the 2018 Western Province paper. So last class, what we did is we discussed the first question of 2018, the mixed question, and today we are discussing the question 2, 3. So next week we might discuss the 4 and 6. Likewise. So sometimes I might take a paper and finish the paper. Sometimes I might do mixed. So what I want you all to do is when doing the always I'll be having a heading here. So while doing the question, I forgot to show the heading. Just mention this heading and do. So it'll be easy to identify what is the question you already. Okay. Others, you'll have 2 more minutes. Be quick. If you have any other questions, you can drop in the chat. Why? Look, when I have a breakdown, if you want, I can send it to you. I'll just check if I have WhatsApp and I'll just send you. Just drop me WhatsApp message. We categorize the purpose based on two, either representing data or comparing data. So if you take apart from pie chart, all of the charts you can represent data as well as compare data, but pie chart is normally used to only represent data. So that's where the difference work. It's about representing data and comparing data. And there's something called stacked chart. It is not there. So you all have something. Only all have only the XY scatter chart. So the specialty of XY scatter chart is it cannot really represent two sets of. It means not just x-axis and y-axis. It can have a different another third pair of data as well. I have a breakdown. I'll just send it to you. You can see. Anyways, the time is up, and let's start the discussion for this question. So here they are saying, following is a part of two tables consists of marks and other relevant data of students in the school, which intended to construct using a database management system. So DBMS stands for database management system. Okay. So what they have mentioned here is basically, let's go one by one. State the suitable data type for each fields in the marks table. Okay. Now, what do you mean by fields in a table? Are they the columns in a table or rows in a table? What does the word field normally define? The fields means the columns in a table or rows in a table. Exactly. A field defines the columns in a table. Then how do you define the row in a table? These are rows. This is one row. This is another row. This is another row. These are multiple rows. And these are columns. This is one column. This is another column. Okay. This is one column and that's a row. So how do you define a row in a table? Exactly. Using what? Record. Okay. So a record means basically a row in a table, and field means a column in a table. Normally, to be more specified, record is basically a row containing data, not the row containing the column headings. Okay. I am not audible. I am audible for others, right? I am audible, right? Because my mic shows moving. Yeah. I'm gonna just check your speaker. Anyways, so they are saying to suggest suitable data type for each field in the marks table. So if you look at this marks table, okay, so this is the marks table. If you look at the marks table has four fields, right? Admission number is one field, index number is another field, total marks is one field, and terms is another field. So if you're going to talk about data types we have in a database applications, now you will be learning data types in your syllabus in two scenarios, okay? One is you'll be learning data types in spreadsheet, sorry, in database. Apart from learning in database, you will learn this word data type even in your programming lesson as well. So they are the data types are different, and here you have a bit of different data types. Okay, because normally from application to application, certain times, not always, but certain times, their names can change. Anyways, if you take a database application, the data types we have are one is text, any character. Then we have something called numeric or as number. You can call anything. You can call it as numeric or you can call it as number. Okay. This is to represent data containing numbers only. Then apart from this, we have something called as what do you call price? Not price. What do you call it as price? We have yeah, currency. To define a price value, we use currency. And then if you want to define a date or time, then you can use a date and time. It should be actually date and time at all. Apart from that, we have one data type called Boolean as well. So Boolean normally represents either 1 or 0 or indirectly true or false. Okay. So that's what a Boolean is going to contain. So yeah, these are the, because the table is taken. Anyways, but these are basically the data type we actually have. Now, out of these data types we have, tell me, in order to store the admission number, okay, if I want to store the data containing admission numbers, what do you think is the most suitable data type? Exactly. To store the admission number, the most suitable data type I can use here is, okay, to store the admission number, the suitable data type I can use here is what? It's going to be numeric. Okay. The reason I'm saying numeric is because if you look at our scenario, if you look at the scenario containing, with the scenario we have, the sets of admission number, are they containing only numbers? If you take the data of the admission numbers, are they containing only numbers? Yes. So because they are containing only numbers, we can use numeric. What about index number? For index number, what is the most suitable data type? Exactly. For index number, using what you call numeric is not suitable. What is the reason? Exactly. Because if you look at these index numbers given here, apart from numbers, they have used a character as well. They have used a letter B as well. Okay. So when we are talking about numeric, it should contain numbers only, right? So that's why for index number, the most suitable data type would be text. And then next one, total marks. What is the suitable data type for total marks? Yeah, that contains only numbers, so you can mention their numeric. Then what about term column or term field? For that also we can use numeric or else numbers. Okay, so these are the respective data type. So for this question, you can actually break down the marks into, put half marks each. For each answer you got correct, put half marks. Integer, that's why I said integer or integer string is all there in your programming. That is not there in database. In database, these are the data types we have. So that is wrong here. What if you mention text to all? It is wrong. I wrote all three numeric fields together. Is it okay? That's fine. As long as you mention for those three numeric and index number text, your answer is correct. Then let's go for the next question. Roman number 2. Suggest a suitable primary key for both the tables. Okay. So normally we use something called as a primary key to identify each and every record uniquely. Okay. Now, if you take the first, let's say students table. Okay. Look at the students table and tell me I can identify each records uniquely using which field. Look at the students table and tell me I can identify each records uniquely using which field. And one thing you have to keep in your mind, when we are selecting a primary key, there are two things you have to keep in your mind. One is the given data. That means you have to go through the given data and see are they repeating. Second thing is you have to think in your mind, could it repeat? You have to think in your mind, is there any possibility for it to repeat? Now, for example, if you take the name in our scenario, let's say Meena, Sandun, Devi, Raja, Peter, Balu. In our scenario, the names are not repeating. But if I come and ask you, in a school, can there be two people with the same names? Can there be? Is it possible? Yes, two people can have the same names. So because two people can have the same name, using name as a primary key is not suitable. Now, if you look at the database, the date of birth column, as per the given scenario, none of them are having the same. Okay, you can see Sandun and Banu. Sandun and Banu anyways have the same date of birth. But let's say there was no, in the given data there was no. And if you ask, okay, if I ask you basically, is it possible to repeat? Yes, two people can have the same date of birth. What about address? Can two people have the same address? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Let's say in the school there is a twins. Let's say there is a twins coming to the school. Okay, forget about twins. Even if siblings are coming, they'll have the same, but you call address as well, right? So in that case, again, address also can't be taken. That's why I said always you have to think on two things. One is the given data. Second thing is it possible? Is there any possibility? This is where you use your mind to think. And again, gender in the given data is also repeating. Again, if you think also, it's not, it again can repeat as well. Now, if you take the admission number column, is there any possibility two students will have the same admission number? In your school, have you ever come across any scenarios like that? No, the main purpose of the admission number itself to identify each and every student uniquely. So admission number is the most suitable column or most suitable field here that can be found as a unique in our scenario. So I'm going to mention students table. The primary key should be admission number. That's simple. Sorry, spellings are wrong. AD_NO. Okay. Is that clear? Got the idea? If you have any questions, then drop in the chat. Okay. Next, let's go for the marks table. Similarly, look at the marks table and tell me. I can now there's okay. Before I come with that answer, I just tell you one more thing. Now, when you're finding the primary key, there's one thing you have to keep in mind. Sometimes you can identify each record uniquely using one field. Okay, but sometimes one field is not enough. You have to use sometimes two fields. Sometimes two fields are not enough. You might have to use three fields. Okay, so if you're going to identify every record using only one field, then you can call that field as a primary key. Now, for example, in the students table, you can identify each record using the index number only. I mean admission number only. So you're using only one field now. So you can call this field as a primary key. But if there is going to be more than one field you have used together. Now, for example, in certain scenarios, one field is not enough. You have to combine two fields together and take it as a pair. In such scenarios, we're not going to have more than one field to what you call for the primary key. We call such as a composite primary key. So normally if you take composite primary key, it will not contain only one field. Instead, it will contain either two fields or more than two fields, right? Just keep that in your mind. Now, look at the marks table and tell me, can I identify every records in the marks table using the admission number? First thing, look at the given data. Second thing, think out of the box. If you look at the given data, you can see here 11150 is there. Here 11150 is there. So can we identify each record uniquely using the admission number in this marks table? Yes or no? Now here with the given data itself, you can make your answer. But certain scenarios you have to think out of the box. Okay. So basically using the give me a moment, guys. Okay, so what do you call using the admission number? We can't identify. So I'm going to ignore this column. Next, Use the index number. Using index number, can I actually identify each record uniquely? One thing, look at the given data. Second thing, think out of the box. If you look at the given data, there is no any repetitions. Fine, in the given data, there is no any repetitions. Um, Actually, it should not. I think it's not index number. It's that column name should be something else. It should have been subject number. Relevant data score with yes, because the word index number doesn't make sense there. A person will not have admission number as well as index number both, because you can see B1, B2, B3. Now these all comes as subject numbers. Technically speaking, this should have been subject number. Okay, what is Boolean and field? Fields are basically records of a table, column names of a table or columns of a table, and Boolean is basically true or false. Anyways, so technically speaking, we can't have something called index number here. It should have been, because you can see if there is index number basically, then you can see to identify each student we are using the primary case admission number, 8 number. So if this is one student and this is the same student here, can both of these students have two different what do you call index number? This is one double triple one five zero is the student called Meena. Will me can Meena have actually two different index number? Like think practically and tell me, can two students have the different index number? No, right? So technically speaking, this column should have been subject number. Let's say to identify each subject, okay, let's say to identify each subject, you're going to use something called as a subject number, okay. Now, based on that, okay, tell me, can a student, what do you call, can the subject number actually repeat? In this table, subject numbers are not repeating, but can it repeat? Yes, it can repeat. But two students can actually sit for the same exam. Two students can again sit for the same exam, right? For example, let's say there's Meena and Nadun, let's say both of them are in the same class. So they both of them can sit for the same exam. It is possible. Next, can the total marks, okay, first of all, can the total marks, if you take this column, this field, can the total marks field repeat? Always do two things. First, look at the given data. Second, look at is it possible. Here means if you look at the given data itself, you can see two burgers have 810 here, two burgers have 750 here. Okay? It is basically repeating. The given data itself is repeating. But apart from the class, what do you call a real world scenario also, can it repeat? Yes, it can repeat. For example, what do you call, let's say a person got 100 marks, there can be two people who got 100 marks. Or let's say one person got 75 marks, two people can get 75 marks. Or let's say five people got 0 marks. Again, see, five student people have got 0 marks. So they can get the same marks as well. So total marks also can repeat. So this is also not suitable to identify each records uniquely. Now, can you identify each records uniquely using the term field? Again, no. See, even in the given data itself, there is repetition. So basically, if you take the marks table, can we use just one field to identify each record uniquely? Is one if is taking one is considering only one field enough? Look, one subject number is like the subject. For example, the whole paper right side up, if you go and see, there'll be number for your subject, right? I can't remember the exact numbers of every subject, but if you go for take oral past papers and see, you might see there's a subject number every subject has. That's what subject number I'm meaning here. Exactly. There is no one field you can identify. So in these type of scenarios, I see, okay, can I identify every record using two fields? If you can't use in two fields, with three fields. Now look at this whole table and tell me, what do you think is the fields I have to take together? Okay, what are the fields I have to take together to identify each record uniquely? What do you think? What do you think are the fields I have to take together to identify each records uniquely in the marks table? Okay, I have one correct answer for now. My question is, to identify each records uniquely in the marks table, what are the fields you call here? I hope my voice is better now. Only one correct answer I got. Very bad. My voice is okay right now. Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was basically, now if you take the students table, you can identify each records using the admission number field. So that's the primary key. In the marks table, using what are the fields I have to take, or what are the fields I have to consider to identify each records uniquely is the question. I think only Nabi has answers correct up now. Think. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. So majority of your answers were saying admission number, subject number, index, subject number. Okay, most of you were saying actually the first two columns, admission number column and subject number column. Okay, let's say there is a student called Meena. Okay, let's say Meena, what she did is she did the maths exam in the first term test. And for the maths exam, she got, let's say, 80 marks in the first term. Let's say Meena, again, she did the maths exam and she got, let's say, 90 marks in the second term test. So if you're going to use the admission number in the subject number column, you can see there's a repetition. Here also Meena maths, here also Meena maths. So using these two columns, we can't identify each records uniquely. Now at least try to figure out and tell me what are the fields I have to take together to identify each records uniquely. Okay. Some of you are saying subject number and term. Let me come for that. Now let's say apart from Meena, there was a fellow called Sandun. Let's say Sandun also did the maths exam. He also, let's say, got 80 marks in the first term. Sandun also did the maths exam. He also got 90 marks the exam. He had copied the exam, that's a different story. But let's say he also did the exam. So if you're saying subject number and term, now here in the first scenario also, you can see maths and one is there. Here also maths and one is there. So how can I say subject number and term? Here, you can identify each records uniquely using three fields. One is the admission number of the student, the subject number he is doing for, and the term. So, how I'm going to explain each of these records uniquely is I will say the first record is regarding Meena's, so let's say the person 1150's subject number 10B3's first term marks. And this I'll be like the student number 1151, or to be more precise, Sanun's what do you call first term subject number 10B1's marks. This is Adel, this is Davies, subject number 102B5's second term marks. I'll be like this is what do you call student number, or else who is 50? Meena. I'll be like this is Meena's subject number 102B3's second term marks. I'll be explaining each of this record using three fields. So the three fields I'll be taking is the admission number field, the subject number field, and the term. If I take those three fields as a pair, would there be a repetition? Think and tell me, could there be any repetitions? Could it repeat? There will not be any repetitions there. Okay, because will the same student go and now, because normally nowadays you don't find people where they go for the same class again. Okay, once they fail, even they fail for levels, and even if they fail a grade, they you normally get passed to the next grade. That's how normally most of the schools works these days. So in terms of general scenarios, okay, you will not be again doing the same exam twice. Once you are done it, it's done. Halas. Okay. So here in the marks table, the fields we have to use as a primary key. So marks table, does it have a primary key or a composite primary key? Exactly. It's a what you call composite primary key. Admission number plus term. So in one term, you're going to do only one subject. You're going to, but for every term, you're going to go, if you're going to take only admission number in term, then for every term, you're going to sit only one subject. Is that your idea? Can't do that. You can take all three fields. Okay. What's a composite primary key? A composite primary key is where more than one field is used. Okay. Where more than one field is used to identify each records uniquely. So if it's only one field is used, then we call that primary key as just a normal primary key. But form the primary key, if you need more than one field. Now in this scenario, to form the primary key, we need three fields. That is what? Admission number, subject number, and term. So if you have to use more than one field to form the primary key, then such primary keys are called the composite primary key. Got it? Last time we got something similar wrong. Actually, what I was thinking is to give you actually extra coins. I mean, because there are a set of points I didn't still add for the website. I'll be adding it this week. But only because you got it correct, I thought to give you points. Shall I give that person points? What do you think, others? Should it be written using plus? If you want, you can put plus, you can put comma, you can put and, your wish. Admission number is a primary key in students table. And can admission number be a primary key in another table? Yes, it can be. If those two tables, if there are two tables which has a one-to-one relationship, then obviously in that table, admission number might be a primary key. I'll come that in a while. Okay, I'll give. So I'll give you extra points. I don't know how much I'll give, but I'll give you extra points. Anyways, maybe she have to do. She have to do. No, I mean, if you are a student of my class and if you have already learned spreadsheet under me, this is all you will know this by default. Simple. Okay, if you want, I can give now even. Okay, I'll give a while. I give you two options now. Option number one. Okay. Okay. She has not done it anyways. I have not done this paper in the class. I have done several spreadsheet. I have done all the in class. We have already completed all the oral papers except 2023, 2016, 2022. All the oral papers we have done regarding spreadsheet, and we have done like what do you call in class itself. We have like learned this lesson like a lot of times. But again, keep that thing aside. Regarding Roman number 4, 5, 6. Okay, regarding 4, 5, 6. If I'm going to discuss it now, I will need averagely, I'll extend the class until 8 o'clock. If you're okay with me doing the class at 8 o'clock, I can do those three questions as well now. If you want to conclude now, then I have to stop from here. But first of all, answer my question. Shall we continue until 8? I'll put a poll because it's a mixed answer. I want to do, but then some of you are saying that you have a class or whatever. Actually, I have a class. Wait, there's a science free class as well, I think at 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock, not now. Wait, I'll create a poll. Okay. Some of majority of you have certain other classes going on. Right, fine. So because of that, I'll do this. I'll discuss from Roman number 4 next week. Right? Okay, from Roman number 4, I'll discuss next week. But yeah, I want to give a small announcement. That is, I'll be doing a couple of free seminars in the latter part of this month. Okay. Is there anyone of you all from like? I'm gonna put all of your hands down. Is there anyone of you all from schools such as like Hijaz, Ilma, or ICM? Anyone? There is raise your hands up. Because then I'll be giving two announcements. If there is no, then I'll give only one announcement. Okay. So if you are there in these three schools, like Hijaz, Dicem, or Sun, I'll be doing, but basically I'll be doing two seminars for grade 11s and grade 10s. I'll be two seminars each. So why there is two seminars? Because now there are certain schools which are in this, which are currently in the third term, like Hijaz, Dicem, and Ilma. Okay. And other schools are majority of the schools are still in the second term. So for grade 11, I'll be putting a poster soon as well. For grade 11, I'll be doing the second term. There'll be a poster coming soon, but I'll just give you a heads up now itself. I'll be doing a second term seminar on will be on grade 11. Second term will be on 22nd July. It's a free seminar from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. online. Okay. Third term seminar. Those who are having like third term exam, is it stuck? Yeah, the third term seminar I'll be doing on 23rd July. So just giving you all a heads up on this. There's a separate seminar for grade 10 as well. There's a separate seminar for grade 11 as well. So what I'll be doing is I'll be discussing a specific second term past paper. So I'll be giving you all the past paper to do. Like for example, I'll be what do you call this, giving the paper advance at least around 2 hours, 3 hours, at least a day prior. I might give you all the paper. So you can try doing the paper. And then I'll be discussing the paper on this day at this specific time period. Okay. So wait guys, it will happen only online. I'm getting a call from Pick Me. Just give me one moment. Hello? See, what do you call that is done? Yeah. So just coming back to the point. So there are two seminars. It will happen only online, and I'll be giving you all heads up on that coming soon. So just giving you all announcement now itself. When is the next pilot paper? Next pilot paper, I actually discussed with the Corona people. So they were like saying, let's do it in the morning and then discuss the same paper in the evening. So sometimes how it might work is I might give you all a paper for like 2.5 hours or like between 2 to 3 hours paper. Same paper I'll be discussing on that day. So it's like it'll happen physically only, but at Velavata only. And so all of you will come there and you have to do the paper physically. And maybe I'll be giving option do online. I will not discuss online. So that's there. It might come probably in July last week, August. It's not still confirmed the date time. I will let you all know soon. Grade 10 one is happening another day. We're going to post. I'm just giving you an update now itself regarding the grade 1. You really want to know the grade 10 seminar? So grade 10 seminar will happen on, to be more precise, it will happen on 21st July. So this is grade 11. Grade 10 will happen on 21st July from 5 to 7. And grade 10 third term will happen actually from 31st July, 5 p.m. 7 p.m. There will be poster coming on this, giving you a heads up. Pilot paper for IT, yes, pilot paper for IT. Why physical, not at color now? I have to do 2 different days. If I'm going to do 2 different days, I have to do 2 different papers, and it's going to be like my energy is going to be ultra consumed. So it's not just about the paper. I have to prepare the paper and blah blah. Anyone can come to below. It will be like there'll be registration forms where just fill that in. Anyone can come. Online or Kolanava, or can come to Kolanava, chill out and do the exam, something like that. Anyways, I'll inform that in the class. That's regarding the theory class students know. So I'll let you all know that later on once things are finalized. The pilot paper thing. Anyways, we're done with the discussion for today. I'll be doing the 4 and 5 and 6 next week. Anyone having any questions, you all have to forget. Don't forget my points. Ah, yes, I will do it. Well at the far, but Corona is near. Let's see. I haven't still decided because my initial plan was to do only online. But let's see. I haven't still decided. I need some time to decide on that. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask. Otherwise, if we're done with everything, you can actually leave because we're done with the. Okay. Yeah, you can reply to the doubts that's coming to the questions. Now we have a index number. I got the coins. By any chance, can you remember it? Did you discuss the third question? Ah, no, from the third question. Sorry, from the third question, I'll discuss in next week's class. I didn't discuss that question yet. Today's date is actually July 8th. Okay, added your points. Okay, go and check your profile. Is it showing? Don't let me know. So yeah, with that, we are done. If you have any questions, you can get back to me through WhatsApp and clarify them. Have a nice day. Bye. Go and check in the spam section of your email or drop me WhatsApp message.